Hi everyone, I'm so happy to welcome you for this new special episode. Today we'll dive deep into the heart of resilience and healing. This is a very special episode because I will share with you my own journey of resilience and healing. So stay with me, there is a lot of inspiration and wisdom in this episode. Welcome to Be the Journey of a Lifetime. Be is a podcast that dives deep into the heart of our humanity. My name is Anya Tsai. I'm a writer, speaker, and life coach. But above all, I'm a kindred spirit and your guide on the beautiful path of resilience and transformation. There is nothing you can't overcome, so it's never too late for happiness. I love this quote from Peppa. I totally agree, and I deeply believe that there is nothing you are not able to overcome. It's never too late to live a new life. And I'm sure that many of you have been through life challenges. And today in this episode I will share with you my journey of resilience and healing after the most difficult hardship I had to overcome in my own life. And in my case, it was sexual abuse in my childhood. I will also share with you how this journey was such a deeply transformative adventure. So first I'm going to tell you what happened and why I chose the path of silence in my case. And then I will tell you how I was able to free my voice after 20 years of silence. Yes, it's really a long time. And finally, I will tell you how this choice changed my life forever. So let me begin first by telling you why I chose to keep silent after the trauma. Maybe you're wondering what happened to my life and what led me to the path of silence. It's quite an old story that dates from 30 years ago, and at this period of my life I was living in Paris, France with my family, and I was 15, and in one night my entire life changed forever. And that night I've experienced two trauma in one. I've experienced sexual violence during another crime, and it was a nighttime home burglary with act of violence and torture. This night, I really thought that it was my last night on earth. I thought I was going to die with my family. Luckily, we all survived this crime. My parents and brother had experienced the same horror night, but without the sexual violence in their case. And I was the only one who've been through that trauma. But we were all very traumatized. So I chose to remain silent after that night because I wanted to protect my family and I didn't want to add more pain to their suffering. Also, I didn't feel legitimate. That means I didn't feel the right to complain because we were all alive and it was like a miracle. I thought we were going to die, but we were so lucky to survive. That's why I chose to remain silent. And also, I had a wrong belief at that time. I was a kid and my thought was I will be able to forget with time and time will erase the trauma. I've tried during 20 years, I can share with you, that does not work. Time does not erase a trauma. This strategy does not work. I've tried very hard for 20 years and I can tell you, time does not erase your past. And especially if you've been trauma or sexual violence, time don't help you to forget. Now I have talked about my story and my choice of silence. I will tell you how I was able to free my voice. After more than 20 years of silence, I finally decided to free my voice and to share my story. As I told you, I noticed that time doesn't erase the past, and the impact of the trauma was still very present in my life. I had, in my case, PTSD. And during 20 years, I've navigated through very negative and deep emotions such as loneliness, shame, guilt, anger, hate. And I chose to free myself because it was such a heavy burden to carry alone. And I had this limited belief as a kid. I thought that no one could understand me, I was alone. But the more you remained in silence, the more difficult it is to heal. And also at this period in my life, I've been through the pain of losses in my family. I've lost 5 members in 6 years, and each year I went through a very painful mourning process. And it was a resilience journey every year, and I cried a lot, and all the losses were so suffering for me. And through the loss of my loved ones, I realized how life was precious, but also impermanent. I understood that everything is temporary, so it's so urgent to live now and seize the day. That's why I decided to free my voice, and it took me more than 20 years to find the courage and strength to speak and tell my story. I remember that day, it was just 8 years ago, and this choice changed my life forever. And you know what? New choices lead to new results, and my entire life changed after that. I received so much support, so much acceptance, compassion, love from my friends and family, and I never felt alone anymore. And after that, I continued my healing journey, and I did a 1-year therapy, which helped me a lot. After the therapy, I decided to change my career and become a life coach and therapist myself to help people on their own healing journey. I was really fascinated by the process of healing, and I wanted to meet other people who've been through the same challenges. And what happened, I was so fascinated and passionate about the subject of healing after trauma and the steps to resilience. I opened a blog about resilience after sexual abuse. I opened a YouTube channel with hundreds of videos. The YouTube channel is in French. And I opened a podcast also to share the keys I found on my own journey. And I wanted to have a deep impact and meet other people who've been through the same hardships in their life. And that's the reason why I created a non-profit organization to help people. And I've been organizing support and discussion groups for victims of sexual abuse for men and women. After listening to hundreds of stories in my discussion groups, after leading hundreds of groups, I noticed that people were looking for the same keys I found on my own journey, and people had the same question I had. That's why I decided to write the book that didn't exist at that time, so I wrote a book. I became a writer, and I wrote a book to share to people all the keys to resilience and healing that I found myself on that journey, and all the tools I've learned also when I became a therapist and life coach. Now I decided to start a new adventure here. I moved to the US 4 months ago to start my new life here, to study new skills and also improve my English. My dream is to be able to write my books in English and to share my message of resilience, hope, and love of life to the world. So that's why I opened this podcast a few weeks ago, and I'm happy to embark you with me on this amazing journey. Now I talked about how this choice of freeing my voice changed my life forever. Let me summarize. Today, I told you about my own journey of resilience and healing after sexual violence. I told you why I chose to keep silence after the trauma. And then I shared with you how I was able to free my voice after the 20 years of silence. And finally, I told you how this choice changed my life forever. When I chose to share my story, it was a little bit more than 8 years ago. I couldn't have imagined that choice will lead me to that result. I never thought I would be able to change my whole life, to start a new career, to move here, to share my message to the world. I never thought I would be able to be a therapist myself, to become a writer, to open a podcast or a YouTube channel, to become a speaker. I truly believe that new choices lead to new results, and the result can be really and truly amazing. I hope that my story has shown you that there is nothing you can't overcome. No hardship, no trials, no life challenges. There is nothing you are not able to overcome, because nothing is impossible. It's never too late for happiness. It's never too late to make new choices. It's never too late to live a new life. And if it's possible for me, it's possible for everyone. Thank you for listening. In next episode, we will continue this amazing journey in the heart of life. Thank you for being in my life. Stay tuned for the upcoming episode and don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. Thank you so much for listening.